Good morning and welcome back to the Turn It Round the Corner podcast, episode 26, with the famous voice of Brisbane Road, famed musician, dressing room guitarist, Mr. Barry Galvin. How you doing?
What an introduction. That's the best one I've ever had, Christian. Thank you very much. But I have to pick you up on one thing. Dave
Yeah,
Vicks is the voice of Brit. He's the voice of Leighton Orient. I'm the live voice, but
yeah. All right
Dave,
then.
you're doing it
Well,
for many, many years.
I
Props to
would,
Dave.
I, I would give you that. That Dave Victor's, I suppose, the voice of Leighton Orient and
Yeah.
what my children have grown up at. But yeah, all right then. The match day voice
The
of,
live
of
voice, yeah.
yeah, the live voice of match day, Leighton Orient. So Barry, how are you? You had a good week?
Yeah. All good, thanks, right? But yeah, not too bad. Sun's out. Yeah, not so bad, mate. You?
Yeah, all good, thank you, mate. I get to this point of the year, and I think, as much as we've got an exciting season right now for Orient, I do think cricket season is just round the corner, and summer's just round the corner, and yeah, you're out of the darker months, so to speak. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Cricket, I have to say on cricket, it doesn't mean a thing to me, mate.
I'm most other people, but I think
Yeah.
cricket will always be one of my loves as well. So,
I think it was one of those sports I enjoyed playing at school, but I just
yeah,
it just never got into it. It's just like to watch it was just no. Like golf, I suppose I enjoy playing it, but watching it doesn't really. Yeah,
yeah.
but
So,
yes, you're right. Summer's around the corner. Everything's looking good.
yeah, the sun is out, which is, as I say, makes everyone happier. So, match day announcer, reporter at Road on match day. Firstly, I suppose first question is how do you get into that? So I suppose backstory is you're a musician. So did that tie into it? Did that give you the
It
angle?
did, but accidentally. Like a lot of things that happen in life, you kind of
Right?
accidentally put yourself forward for it.
Yeah.
I like to take opportunities where I see them, but I must admit, I didn't see this one coming. I must admit, I 10 years ago, so not 11, 12, 2013. Sorry, I got to know the commercial manager at the time, Tom Jeffs.
Yeah.
Great guy, Tom. He's gone to Portsmouth now. He's from the south coast, and I think I'd ordered something unusual from the club shop. I think it was a long sleeve shirt that my son Dan wanted.
Yeah.
And he got inside. I said, "It's not in stock yet." And we started chatting. And being a commercial manager, he asked me what I did, and I said, "We run a business. We do print a copy of owners." And he said, "You ever thought about sponsorship?" I said, "Yeah, we can get involved to a level." And I think we sponsored, it was like a short sponsor or something for one player for one season. And we just hit it off straight away. Started chatting about this and that, and you just get to riff with someone. And he stayed in touch a couple of times about a couple of things. And then he called me. I think this was just before the end of the 13-14 season. We were. It was a great season. We were. I think we were still in the top two. Well, we finished third, as we all know. We were there or
Amazing
thereabouts
season.
going up to the championship, and everything was
Yeah.
looking rosy. And he said to me, "I may have an opportunity for you." And I said, "Oh, okay." And he said, "Do you want to come into the stadium?" And I said, "Well, okay, yeah, no, I'll never pass up an opportunity to go into Brisbane Road and sit in maybe the offices and stuff." And I went in there on I think it was a Tuesday afternoon, and he said, "Okay, do you?" And I thought he was just going to talk about more sponsorship, an opportunity to sponsor a player for a whole season or something. And he said, "Do you want a coffee?" Sat down with him, and I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Phil, the stadium announcer at the time, yeah." He said, "Well, I think he's going." I said, "Oh, okay." He said, "Yeah," and he said a few things that were like, "All right, Peter." And I said, "Okay." And I thought he was just chatting to me. And he said, "So do you want to do it?" And I said, "What?" He said, "Do you want to be the stadium announcer?" And I went, "Yeah, okay." And I had no idea of, I mean, obviously, let's be fair, it's only talking out loud, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I missed that quite an important section actually. I just remembered in the interim, when I'd kind of just got to know him a bit, we'd gone 8 straight games at the start of that season, 13-14. 8 wins, 8 games, 8 wins,
Yeah.
top of the
Unbelievable start,
performance.
wasn't it? Yeah.
So, and I sent him a track called "Undefeated" that I'd written that was on one of my albums. And I said, "Hey Tom, I don't know if you know, but I've had a couple of record deals in the past, and and I've got this track called Undefeated." I said, "Would you give it a listen? If you like it, can you play it on a match day? Because my son would think that was so cool if they got played, on a match day." And he did. He listened to it and played it. I was pleased. My son was thrilled. He was 14 at the time, 13, 14. And that is why he asked me to be the announcer, because I'd put that track forward and because he knew I was a musician. That's why he asked me, because he thought not only would I, maybe have the personality to do it, but I wouldn't be
Yeah.
worried about going out on the pitch with a mic, talking to people, and that's why he said he asked me, so I accidentally put myself forward for.
I think that's a great juncture. Do you think, as I say, like you had, because to me, like I feel like I'm a confident person. I've done a lot of conference speaking, but I don't know, at that live moment, football crowd's different, maybe to a business crowd. Like I think that takes a different type of sort of personality and, as you say, confidence. I suppose you just felt, given that your music background, that was something that you could just step
Yeah,
up to,
I'd
and that.
I played some reasonable sized venues, and I've done 1,500 Lakeside Country Club and a few, and it doesn't worry me, because life, you only live once, and what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah,
You go out there, you say trip over your words away, it doesn't matter. Just if you want to take opportunities in life, you've got to take them, and it didn't faze me at all. Although having said that, my first game was against it was a friendly, pre-season friendly, 14. We just obviously failed to go to the championship,
yeah,
and it was against QPR, and I think it was a 2-2 draw. And when I got there, and I was thinking, okay, so maybe I'll shadow someone, maybe they'll take me round, maybe for the first one I'll just be watching and just whatever. And they literally went, right, here's the mic, here's who's playing, off you go. And as I say, I'm pretty confident with things, and I thought, oh, is that it then? Just get on with it. And I didn't say that, I just said yes, obviously. But I'm standing on the pitch, because I'd seen what Phil had done. Obviously, I'm a fan, I've been
yeah.
there all my life. Standing on the pitch looking down the tunnel, and the only slight, I say wobble I had, but I looked in the tunnel, and there's Harry Redknapp, Joey Barton, Rio Ferdinand, all standing there thinking, this is real, mate. This is real. But you say, please welcome the teams, and you read them out, and you do what you have to do. And that was me baptism of fire. But I don't know if you were going to come to this question, but I wasn't, in case anybody is thinking, well, hang on a minute, he wasn't there 14, 15, 16. I was, but that's my dog. Sorry, Oscar. Thank you. He's no respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was there. What happened was, and I don't know exactly what happened, but they said, okay, he's staying on.
Right.
And when I got that news after I'd done the QPR thing, and I had such a buzz from doing it, I was like, oh no, I can't believe it. I've been given this chance, and now it's gone. And I said to Tom, I'm gutted. And he said, no, he said, you can still be involved in a match day if you want. Can you play Tijuana Taxi when the teams come out? And can you do interviews? And I said, yeah. He said, you done interviews before? And I went, yeah. Of course, I haven't done any interviews at all, ever. And he said, would you mind interviewing like the players or the manager pre-match? And I said, yeah, that's fine. So for 3 or 4 seasons, I was substitute to Phil. I used to do the odd one, maybe a couple of seasons where he'd go Tuesday night auto windscreens trophy. He goes, you fancy doing it? I go, yeah, absolutely. I didn't mind who it was or where it was, whether there's 1,500 people there or whatever. And that's how I kind of broke my teeth getting used to it. And then in October 18, he left, and so I won't go into all that. But and then I was offered to take over, obviously, the natural replacement, and I was thrilled to do so.
There's loads of follow up to that I want to ask you, Baz. But like, even like from your first game to now, is there any protocol? Is there like you have to do this, you have to do that, or once you're in that role, are you kind of given within reason carte blanche to do what you want?
Within reason. So
Yeah,
I think that's the most pleasing thing about doing the job from a job satisfaction point of view, is they trust me to get it right, basically. I go to the first floor on a match day, I get scripts, and the script is not a word for word script. A script is an order of play. It's an order of what's going to happen on that day. Obviously, word for word regards birthdays and regards anything particularly to do with the
like sponsors and stuff.
Yeah, sponsors. The pre-match stuff is word for word, because you've got to welcome the sponsors, the mascots, But when it comes to the actual being out on the pitch, half-time stuff, and just, doing interviews on the pitch and stuff, it's kind of a loose framework. If they want a particular point to get across, they'll obviously put that point on there. And other than that, it's just, it's just I wouldn't say winging it. It's just, it's just having the nous to be able to respond to what the other person said to you.
Yeah.
So, sorry about the woofing. I don't know why. I've taken him for a walk.
I can't even hear it, mate. So we're
That's
good.
all right,
But
mate. I'll ignore it in future. Sorry.
I think, as you say, part of that's probably experience, and now where you've done it so long and so many games. But talk to me then about what's your routine. So what time do you get to the ground? What do you do first? What do you do pre-game, half-time, etc.
So we'll get to the ground traditionally 2 hours before kickoff. So that'll be 1 o'clock on a normal Saturday,
Yeah.
5:45. That's not a hard and fast rule, but that's what I try and like to do.
Yeah, I saw you and your son the other day, didn't I? Walking down.
That's
the
right.
road
We're walking
about
roughly the
time.
same time, don't we?
Yeah.
Christian? Yeah, I often see you. And as you know,
Although I'm going
parking.
to the pub, unfortunately, you're gonna do the magic.
I can't and won't ever have a drink at all during the obviously the game and stuff out of respect and out of professionalism. But afterwards, the game, I'll go down before we do the match. I'll have a pint after, because obviously it just helps relax you after. And when we're doing the man of the match stuff, it's a bit more loose, and it's a good time on the third floor. We'll come to that later, but
Yeah,
I'll get there a couple of hours before. Go to the first floor, which is where the staff are. So you've got George Jones, media manager. Sorry if I'm getting these names wrong, George, and Tom Short, who's also in media. And Tom will have noted the script out, and obviously they'll be getting messages and notations all through the week as to what's happening on that match day. We'll have a laugh and a joke, which is the best thing about being at Orient. It's honestly, I know you may expect me to say this, but there's such a good vibe there with the staff and stuff. And we have Lingy's there, and Liz, and Lindsay, and Mark Devlin, who's also a terrific CEO, terrific bloke. And we'll just have a laugh and a joke for a little while. I'll generally get all the information I need to get. Go to the fifth floor, which is the floor where all the operations are from, regards media, and always test the mic first, because that's the last thing you want to do is go out on the mic, on the pitch and you haven't tested the mic, to make sure that's operational. Get some more information from the guys up there. The team sheets generally are not out to that point. Then go to the third floor where the hospitality is. Go and see Lucy and Pa, who are, again, terrific at their job. With me and Lucy have got this love-hate relationship. When I say love-hate, she just absolutely kills me. And I love it. It's really funny, She's just always having a dig at me, which is quite funny. And Ravi. I hope it's in jest. And then we'll meet and greet some of the regulars. While Lucy's telling me we've got a birthday up here at the end for Theo to come and have a photo with the man of the match. We've got a sponsor. We've got a 12th man. She gives me all that information. And then I'll meet and greet some of the regulars. So you've got the likes of like Danny Rogers and Colette Curry and Ellie Pillar and all the other regulars that come up there that I've got kind of a real good friendship and relationship with. Terry's up there, which is always great. Always great to see Terry Howard. I mean, he's been a fixture for the last couple of years.
Orient legend.
Orient legend. And he's called Mark. His name's Mark Howard because, I'd say a little story. I don't think I've told this on any else, but the first time when I was sub and I was reasonably new, so I was just doing the interviews and stuff. Tom had said to me, "Look, we're looking for the 12th man today. We can't find him. Can you get up and down the third floor and try and find a guy called Mark?" And I said, yeah. So I'm running around, anybody who's kind of ligging about, and I'm saying, "Are you Mark?" And I've tapped this guy on the shoulder. And I've gone, "No, you must be Mark." And he's turned around, he's gone, "No, I'm Terry Howard." And I've watched the guy for 20 years on a pitch, how many games he played. And I looked at him and went, "Yeah, of course you are. Yeah." And obviously now he calls himself Mark in front of me. He goes, "All right, it's Mark. How you doing?"
I think that's the best. I think that's one of the better things that Orient have done. Getting Terry. I always see him on a match day. Looks smart and just an iconic figure within the club. And I think it's great that they've brought some old legends back.
Definitely,
it's great.
It seems like a simple thing, but the people that go up there regularly, and even the people that don't go up there regularly, it just gives them a good feeling about the club, that they care. that they care about their history, the fact they're a family and community club, and they want to make people feel part of what's going on, rather than you're cash for the club or you're a ticket or you're a number.
Yeah,
You know, it really is a corny thing to say in it, family and community and that, but it really does feel like that. And you know, it's I was, let's say, fortunate enough to be able to watch football during COVID, during the lockdown, because I did ask them. I said, "Do you want me to still to when they started playing matches behind closed doors? Do you want me to come in and and do what I do?" And they said, "Yeah," for doing the subs and the goal scoring and stuff. But it's still your team and it's a competitive fixture. It's in the league, but it just felt
cool.
so soulless, you know. And it just,
Yeah,
if ever you needed the lesson that football is about the people, the club, and not just about what goes on the pitch, it just felt so wrong with no one in the stadium and no one to talk about it with after. Or there was just staff there and like skeleton staff and a few media, and it was really weird.
yeah. So it was a weird time for football, definitely.
I remember
So
Danny Johnson scored a hat trick during that period, and he scored a hat trick. Like, with his hat trick, and it's all okay, but no one was there to go, hey, you know, it's just strange.
yeah, very strange. So that's that's the first part of your day, pre-match, Barry, and then what entails the nitty gritty, I suppose, of the pitch.
Yeah, 2 o'clock. So before we get to that point, 2 o'clock, we always have an interview on the third floor for the people that are dining, and it's Martin Ling often, director of football. But other than that, it's either a player that's injured, suspended, not in the squad for any reason.
Yeah.
Occasionally, it's been the manager. Sometimes it's Nigel if he's over. Sometimes it's an ex-player. We had just the other day we had Wim shirts up there, and Peter Kitchen's often up there as well. And
Yeah.
so we do an interview, 5 or 10 minutes of whoever. Martin goes through the team, the squads, any injuries. And another thing that I really admire is they're so candid about what's going on. There's no kind of shallow kind of media trained one game at a time, not give anything away rubbish. It's like, this is what's happening, you know, and this is why we feel, and this is what we feel about the current thing of the club and direction, and we're going for the playoffs. There's no, you know, we really feel connected to the people that are up there. And I think I always say at the interviews, thanks for being candid with us, thanks for being honest with us. And yeah, I think again, it's a real boon for the club. And after that, 2 to 2:15, maybe to 2:45, I'll get the team sheet, go back to the fifth floor, and I will talk to the opposition media if there are any difficult names to pronounce. Like, do you remember there's a guy called NG? His surname was NG,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Things like that. You think, what's that? I don't understand it. So you get pronunciations, and I don't know if I told you personally what I did to Man City when Man City were in town, but I had
I've
a
heard the
little. Do
story, Baz, but go on. I
you want me
loved
to
it.
tell
So
it? Yeah, I had
yeah, tell
a
it. Let's
little
listen
bit
to
of
it
a
back.
wind up. Yeah. Look, when else am I going to get the chance to do this? So listen, I'm always respectful to the opposition. You have to be, but you can have a little bit of a laugh and a joke. And I went up to one of their many people that they had up there, because I don't know where they get them. I don't know what they're all doing, these people. Man City, and I said, "Can you help me with a couple of pronunciations?" "Yeah, no problem." I said, "Do you know Guy?" He said, "That's Hayes." I said, "What is Reis?" He went, "Yeah, Hayes." I went, "Okay." Glad I asked that one. Hey, this guy, he went, "Kushinoff." I went, "Okay." And I said, "This guy?" He went, "This one." I went, "Yeah." He went, "Ilkay Gundogan." I went, "Oh, okay, right," as if I'd never heard of him in my life. I went, "It's not Gundogan." He went, "No, it's Gundogan." I started spelling it out on the page. Gundogan. Thank you very much. As I walked away, I could see him looking at me thinking, is he winding me up?
Yeah. Should
But
have given
and
it.
then yeah, I think someone patted me on the back, one of our lads, and went, "Well done." Basically, I was saying, "Who are you?" Basically to him in a kind of tongue in cheek way, you know. And when we was 1-0 up for 45 minutes, I was pretty much on the money.
What
That was great.
talking of names, Baz, that's like a good junction. What would you say before we come back to the teams walking out, etc.? What would you say Orient and opposition are the two hardest names that you've ever had to pronounce? Obviously, or an Orient name you would have got used to over time, but like as you say, opposition. There's some
Um,
there's some tough names out there.
well, okay, so just recently we played Reading at Brisbane Road,
Yeah.
and they've got a player called Kelvin. I know that bit, and his surname is Ehiobatioman, and that is about 17 letters long. I've
Say
learnt
that
it.
again, Baz.
Ehiobatioman. That's his name. Look him up. Place of Reading. He was on
Right.
the bench. I was thinking I'd already asked the Reading guys, and they obviously they're used to people going, "What the hell?" And I'd spelled it
Just
out
don't come on.
phonetically. Yeah, well, I was just about to say, I'm thinking, no, not number 17. Up comes the ball, and I don't, well, praise myself, but I normally get them right. And I
Yeah.
said, coming on, Kelvin Ehiobatio, man. And as I said it, our wonderful crowd, and they've got a great sense of humour, your crowd, all went, "Way!" So that was funny because they knew, they knew. I bet they saw the ball come up and thought, "Here, this, what's
That
he
was
going
like
to do?"
football bingo when that come up, probably.
Yeah. So that's good. I was calling Aaron Drinan Aaron Drinan for a whole season before I actually said to him, you know what? And he says Drinan. I went, oh, okay.
We all was
So
though,
there
Baz,
is
weren't
that.
we? Was
Sorry.
really? I think we all was, weren't we?
Yeah, it seemed a natural Drinan, but it's Drinan. And the other one that's the most contentious one we've got at the moment, which I've heard said 17 different ways. And I've asked Dan himself, it's Dan
Yeah.
Ajay. His name's
Yeah.
Dan Ajay. Yeah.
Yeah. And he, like
And
everyone, me and all my friends and my kids, everyone calls him Aggie, right? Dan Aggie.
Aggie or
It's just,
Agai or Ajay
yeah.
or yeah,
It's just,
even like even Richie, So it's fine. But his name is Ajay, and I've asked him that, so I feel that at least I'm getting it right out of respect.
yeah,
But yeah,
exactly.
there's been some great ones down there. I think the only one I really messed up was and I can't remember who or when it was. It was a fair time ago, so 5, 6, 7 seasons ago, and they had a player called, I think it was Ungogo, something along those lines. So it was an African sounding name.
What, Junior a go-go? There was a
No,
Junior
it
a
wasn't a
go-go.
go-go. It was Unagogo or something like that. It was African sounding, and for some strange reason, for that few seconds, I got this stutter, this stutter, and I couldn't stop saying it. I think I announced him as, let's call him Junior, his first name, just for argument's sake. I went, coming on number 28, Junior Ungogo go go go. I said it about 4 times.
Junior's go, 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 and he's off.
I was like, go 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 go. Like, as I'm saying it, I'm thinking, stop, stop, stop. I think that's the only one I've really messed up, but I think I got away with it. But
So
again, it's
then,
only reading and talking out loud, isn't it?
like, but so then, I suppose when the players are in the tunnel, for you, I suppose that's the most important time, right? That's go time.
Yeah, so we go down at I roughly go down at 2:45. Speak to Nick, the tunnel manager, speak to any of the associated mascots, and that. I love that when the mascots come out of their faces when they're on the pitch, standing pitch
Yeah,
side. The sponsors, our regulars, ET Clays who do goal in a month and stuff like that. Get to know them all, which is great. Have a bit of a laugh. Terry's down there. Yeah, go time. Obviously, go and speak to some of the flag bearers because they're having a good time. The kids who come and do the flag bearing have a bit of a laugh and a joke with Theo and Cleo, even though they can't talk obviously because they're wyverns. And then yeah, you face the tunnel, make sure that the mic comes on because about 6 games ago, for some unbeknown reason, and it still gives me a little bit of a collie wobble, I should say, is I went to press the mic on jumping ahead here. So as the fourth officials line up, the officials I should say, line up in the tunnel, as they start coming up the steps, I give the signal to Anna. She starts playing taxi, and I say, please welcome the teams to the pitch. I have to make sure they're in their way because sometimes it's happened before where they start to come and then they stop for whatever reason. And then I went to press the mic on, and it just didn't come on. It just was
sure.
dead, dead, dead. And it was about 4 or 5 attempts while my sweat was coming at me, thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Mic won't come on. What am I going to do? I mean, in the end, I just had to walk off, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it came on about fourth attempt. It came on, bit of a stress stream, but yeah, that's the routine. They come up. Obviously, you respectfully announce the opposition in a monotone, and then you give it the full beans for Leyton Orient. But you do have to be respectful because I heard a story that the Charlton announcer who'd been doing it for quite a while. Thought it'd be quite funny to call them the opposition Crystal Pal arse like that once, and he was out. So he might have amused a few of the Charlton fans by saying it,
Yeah, but
you can't do that. You can't. They're a team. They've got fans. They deserve respect.
exactly. But after their celebrations the other week, it don't surprise me. It's like they won the World Cup and the FA Cup rolled into one.
Could not believe it.
But is there that's quite a good juncture, really. Is there like protocol for like the EFL or Premier League, whatever? Like, for instance, if the mic did go, is that something where Orient would get in hot water for that? Obviously, because no teams are announced and you'd have to walk off. Like, is there at that point, is there a protocol that you have to follow?
No, not a protocol as such. We've got a fixed mic in the tannoy room. Now, I'm on the gantry when I'm watching the match with the roaming mic because I prefer it out there because you get the atmosphere. You've got George and Tom around you, and you've got playback from several analytics. So if something goal goes in, you're not quite sure who scored it, or you've got a second opinion then, or you've got playback. But in the tannoy room, there is a fixed mic where if that was to go wrong, I've got to go back in the tannoy room and just use the fixed mic. It's almost like a railway station mic where you press the red button and press and hold the button and speak into it. So as a backup, it just would mean that on that occasion, if the mic hadn't come on, I'd just had to walk off while Tirana taxi was playing, run up the stairs as fast as I could, and try and get the teams announced from the room before the kickoff. So I've never been told the protocol, but that's just common sense. I know there's a fixed mic, so I just got to get my arse up there as quick as I can. Which is a thing, by the way. I have to say, just after you see me say this is East London, I have to belt up 112 stairs to get to the room and watch the game before kickoff. I normally make it around the time or about 10 or 15 seconds late because there's no other way of getting up there. Well, there is a lift, but you don't want to be waiting for the lift or get stuck in the lift or whatever. You'll just miss 2 minutes of the game. So that's the thing. They will find me on their stairs one day, probably as I get a bit older. But it does keep me fit,
I suppose you've got to get up there in case anyone scores in 30 seconds, right?
Well, that's it. I mean, there has been one occasion where I got up to the top floor. It was last season. No, it must have been 2 seasons ago because Viggs was with us, Vigoroo. And I got up to the top floor and the ball was on the spot. And I thought, well, what happened? And it was the one where they kicked off, almost immediately went down to our end and Viggs took the player down. And it was a penalty. And he actually saved it. I don't know if you remember, down low to his right.
Mansfield? Was that Mansfield?
It might have been Mansfield. Oscar played. And it might be Mansfield. He saved the pen and I didn't have to announce the goal. But at that point, the ball was on the spot. I'm like, because I've just run up 112 stairs. So I'm trying to compose myself just in case I have to announce a goal. But yeah, that's a kind of unwritten rule that I have to get up there. Well, you just have to get up there as quick as you can, really. And it's the top floor and it's the 5th floor. So it's quite a journey.
And then obviously, I suppose, so carrying on that theme, Baz, once the game starts, it's then down to you to announce goal scorers and substitutions. And obviously that includes their sponsors. And I suppose that takes you through to half time.
Yeah, what I tend to do is I'll get the team sheet and I'll go through the team sheet and write out each goal scoring sponsor next to the player on the sheet. So I don't have to flick back into the program or do anything, it will take time. So I've generally got all the sponsors written down next to the name, just common sense, really. And we do have you'll probably have noticed, we do have a substitution sponsor now, that is the Interiors. But once you've said that a few times, you just get used to saying it. So yeah, look, I mean, it's just common sense, isn't it? You watch the 4th official for people coming on and off. You watch the ref. Although there is a slightly frustrating thing from my point of view, our mic, Sennheiser mic system, which let's be fair, we all know the Tannoy, the system, the PR ain't the greatest. We all know that.
Yeah.
It's got this button that you press on the underside of it, which is tiny, and you have about 4 seconds from when you press the button to when you can actually talk on the mic. So there's a little trick. So you have to anticipate. It's all right when the goal's scored because I always wait for the crowd to go nuts and then it dies down and then you say it and you get another cheer. I just think that's the sensible thing to do. So it's all right for them, but when it's subs and when they're just immediate sub, you have to try and anticipate before and turn the mic on and off. And sometimes, you know, that's why if you do hear, I'm just excusing myself, if you do hear a 1 or 2 second delay after the ball has gone up for extra time, it's because the mic hasn't come on quite as quick as it normally does. But it's not an ideal system. But again, you know, I'm not complaining. It's just, it's easy, really. You just have to anticipate. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, substitutions, goal scorers, the worst part about the job is opposition goal scorers, announcing them. Who wants to do that? No one. Again, you have to be respectful, but you don't have to give it any more than the cursory goal scorer for Reading, number 7, Galvin. That's all you do. Lucky he didn't score. But yeah, obviously then the best part of the job, the opposite, is announcing goal scorer for Leyton Orient. You know, and I'll always be grateful for being able to say that many, many, many times. Wonderful. You know, it's just what a buzz. And the crowd, you know, I'm just announcing it. I'm just at the sharp end. But you spilled it. Because I'm a fan, and I said this to anyone, I wouldn't do this if I wasn't a fan.
Yeah.
There'd be no point. You know, because I'm a fan, you get the buzz of saying what everybody wants to hear. Every Orient fan wants to hear goal scorer for Leyton Orient. You know, and everybody wants it, and I'll get to say it, and I'll never be ungrateful for it. Very grateful.
I was going to say it's like a double buzz, really. Like you're giving the goal scorer, and it's for a team that you support. Like unreal, really. Yeah, unreal.
Yeah, especially when it's a last minute or an important goal or something like that. You know, it just gives you such a buzz.
So then, half time, do you have to sprint back down the steps?
Yeah, half time. I generally know what's going on. Again, I think they're going to be working on new stuff because obviously, you know, it depends. It's great for the kids and stuff like that, and we do have a bit of a laugh of it. But I think they've recently done a bit of Zorb and stuff like that. I think Charlton do a good one, where it's like a crossbar thing where the money goes up every week if you don't get one. It's like a ticket thing. You buy a ticket for, like, you know, to be able to go in it for £1 or something, and if you get pulled out, I mean, they can win thousands and thousands. So that sort of thing's quite good. So yeah, I mean, it's just birthdays, condolences, weddings and anniversaries, and over from Australia and stuff like that, which is, again, it's all great because it's all part of our community, isn't it? And again, exactly. I can have a little bit of tongue in cheek, have a bit of a laugh, put some, you know, sort of private Orient jokes in, but nothing risque. I'm never going to be controversial or say anything too naughty on the mic. I think the worst thing I said was, well, not worst thing, but the cheekiest thing I said recently, I seem to remember, was a guy taking a penalty, and it was his anniversary, or his wedding, or something like that. It was something to do with his birthday. That's right, it's something to do with his birthday. And his wife was taking a penalty as well. And I said, come on, you've got to score on your birthday. Something like that. I mean, you can give it a bit of tongue in cheek, a nod and a wink or something. You'll always score on your birthday or something like that. So you can have a bit of a joke, as long as it's not too blue or too, you know, or disrespectful to the opposition or anything.
And then I suppose you've got 15 minutes, Baz. Of late, as I say, we've had some old players back that you've interviewed. You enjoy that?
Loved it. I mean, the Man City game, I think the club got it just right with that. You know, they had Coxey and Matt Lockwood on the pitch at half time with us, probably our best right and left sider ever. Maybe Alan Comfort's got a shout there, but yeah, and then Jonathan Tahoe to be back for the first time since.
Yeah, what a ledge.
I didn't have to say anything. They had a couple of questions lined up for him, but and I thought of the introduction last second, like you saying about, you know, is it hard and fast, the script? It's not, because this wasn't written down. But as he came on, I went, ladies and gentlemen, the only Frenchman that Arsene Wenger had never heard of, Jonathan Tahoe. Because do you remember he said that after the match?
Yeah.
This is a Frenchman I haven't heard of.
Yeah.
So that was a good introduction. And what was quite funny about that, I think you were there, Christian, but he loved it. He milked the applause. I asked him about the goal, one of the best moments. It's one of my favourite Orient moments. And all the crowd loved it. And then something happened on the far side that wasn't to do with Tahoe. So there was a big cheer went up for some reason, and he thought it was him, and he started waving and cheering and bam. But you know, it was great, and yeah, again, always a pleasure to have. We've had everybody you can think of, really, every ex-player back at the club on the pitch, and I have to say, and I'm not blaming Smokey, but there have been very few. I can literally count on one hand the amount of players that we've had at Leyton Orient since I've been there that were a bit off. current
yeah.
current players, let's say, that were playing in the team, and and ex-players. I don't remember any ex-players been, but it's been it's been a joy. Yeah, I said there've been a couple of people we've had, and it was mostly during the Italian era, I have to say.
Yeah,
They were a bit spiky, a bit
yeah,
unhelpful. But
I,
then the club, you can imagine, can't you?
yeah. I think that was probably part of like the environment back then, weren't it? Whereas I'd like to think most of the players that, like Tuhue, for instance, most of the players that the fans love are either just traditional players that worked hard, or the odd maverick like Tuhue. Like Tuhue was an in and out sort of player and character, but like I would say it's one of the most iconic, I'd say, bits of commentary around Orient, really, in the last 50 years or whatever, like that, capable of anything. You always remember that game, right? And again, you remember that game for the replay as well. So yeah, we've had some good characters over the years, and as I say, as a fan and someone that's working as well, like it must just be a double buzz for you.
Yeah, I mean that moment for me, I was in the stands with Dan watching that when that went in with my son, who was like 11 at the time, and like the joy, and the commentator, and I really should out respect know who the commentator was for that. Was it Clive Tilsley or something?
Yeah, I think it was. I think.
For him to say that, he obviously done his homework because he knew to who he was like brilliant and then rubbish in the same 10 seconds.
Yeah,
Um, to say that just before he dances through two Arsenal defenders and smashes it in the net, he must have been patting himself on the back. To who capable of anything, and then he was, and then even Russell Slade running down the touchline, like
yeah,
he's got nowhere and we don't care, and his
yeah,
cap flies off. You couldn't have. It was brilliant, wasn't it? It was just wonderful. It could only have
yeah.
been better if it was a winner, but we don't care, do we?
No, well, we got the replay, and I think
Barry
that
earned like
money and
that.
everything else
Yeah.
sort of like I think built a little bit of momentum for what we had, and yeah, it was great. So after half time, then Baz back sprint back up the stairs and
Yeah, I mean,
finish the game.
not so much sprint. I can kind of walk up the stairs second half. I might get a cup of tea if I'm lucky, and then you're back. And then the second halves tend to be a bit more eventful than the first halves regarding the announcer because they tend to make more
Subs and
substitutions in the
stuff.
second
Yeah,
half, and you have the dreaded triple substitution, um,
yeah,
which ain't that difficult, but you do have to watch what's going on a bit. And the fourth officials, I mean, I've worked that board because I do stadium tours with the club, and they're left in the dressing rooms. And honestly, up, down, on, off, hold up. I don't know why they have so many issues with them. Up and down, what are they doing? They're looking at them, looking like talking to someone. What, mate? Up and down on the left, up and down on the right. Press the button. That's it. They
Think,
sod about with them, and then they
thinking
change their
about
mind sometimes. Honestly,
thinking about those announcements, Baz. That's probably like gets a varied response, I suppose. The added time, I suppose, if it's 1-1 with a couple of minutes to go and you're on top and 10 minutes goes up, big roar.
yeah.
Whereas, it could be if we're losing 1-0 and you're expecting 10 and you get three,
Well, it happened
like,
the other day, didn't it? Was it Northampton, the 1-2?
yeah,
Was it at home when it should have been 8 or 9 and it come up to 4? And now you talk about, I've said talk about being respectful and all that, which I think I am, but I don't know if you noticed, but every now and then I do. With that one, I went. The fourth official was indicated a minimum of 4 added minutes. 4, as if to say, "Are you kidding?" But you don't
still don't
say
know
that,
how
but
there's
you put it in your
inconsistencies with
voice.
that.
Yeah. And
I
everyone
just
knew
think,
what I was doing.
yeah,
4,
that,
like a little incredulous. Yeah. So you get to play with it a little bit, but yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it. I mean, every now and then we announce the result at the final score. That's a bit in and out, depending on what's happened during the game. We're not
yeah,
going to announce it when we lose.
yeah.
And then obviously we just hope and pray that status quo gets played.
And how does for you, Baz? How does the man of the match relate to you? How do you
We
manage that process?
So about 87, 88, 89 minutes.
Yeah,
Obviously George will contact Par, who's normally with the sponsors, and say,
yeah,
okay, who's your man of the match? Because it is for the match sponsors to choose man of the match. Whether so, all the people in the stadium, whether you agree with it or not, it's the sponsor's choice. It's not like done on stats or any sort of like
yeah,
science. And that's traditionally after the 90-minute ball has gone up, after the extra time's gone up. And then they obviously are told to come up post-match once they've had their debriefing regards to the match. They come up
Yeah.
to the third floor. Typically, I'm going to say 20, 25 minutes after the final whistle.
Yeah.
But there is a pattern. If we've had an absolute shocker, if something's gone horribly wrong, they don't come up at all fast. You know,
No,
they
of
are
course.
obviously receiving a not very friendly debrief, and they tend to, we know if there's been a shocking result or we've underperformed or whatever, we think, oh, it's going to be a late one today.
Yeah.
Because, and
Yeah.
I get that, it's football, I'm not complaining. It's just that, and sometimes if you've had a particularly good result, they're up straight away because everybody's happy. You know, everyone wants to see them, everyone wants to have their fun, and they're really good, the players. They come up, and the kids, whoever's up on the first floor, the kids all will come up to them while we're gathering ourselves together, getting the shirt and the ball and the sponsors and Simon O'Connor, who's a terrific guy, by the way.
Yeah. Brilliant guy.
We're getting everybody in place to do the interview in front of the plinth for the sponsors on. Kids come up to them and have their photos done, and they have a little like signing session and stuff. And it's a real joyous time. And it was difficult the other day when we lost. But they're always, again, quite honest, the players. Josh Keeley against Charlton,
Charlton.
let's
Yeah.
be honest, not his finest moment. Yeah,
No,
it was
not at all.
definitely a foul for at least one of the goals. We all know that. I still don't want the VAR, by the way, but it's difficult. You've just done 92 and 96. You've just lost the game. The sponsor, just what we were talking about, has given Josh Keeley man of the match, and then he's let in 2 goals.
Yeah.
And he's had to come up and face the music, and he's done it, and he didn't make any excuses. And I didn't make an excuse for him, but I said, because you do a little interview, obviously, I said, so Josh, that's really hard to take. Obviously, we were in control, and that's football. It happens. And I said, we all feel there was definitely a foul on you for one. I can't remember his second goal, third goal. And he went, maybe. He said, but I've got to do better there. I've got to do better. So he didn't go, blaming the ref, like chomping at the bit, wanting to blame EFL on that. So fair play to him. They all take it on the chin when they come up, win, lose or draw. And you can tell some of them don't want to be there if they've had a particularly bad match. And I don't mean that in a grumpy. They're not grumpy, but you can see their demeanour is like, I want to go home and console myself.
Yeah,
but they all come up and they'll do their job.
To be fair, Baz, like in any profession, no one's going to want to have to do that. Do you know what I mean? That's where football is, I think, hard for other people to understand that whether they win, lose or draw, like it's played out in front of thousands. And as I say, after, they've then got to show their face again in front of people that might not want to see their face at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
but you know what? No one's ever, to my experience, no one's ever been spiky to any player that's come up there. No one's ever gone, well, you should have done better there, or that wasn't very good. How'd you miss that open goal? Like, no one's ever been that disrespectful, and nor should you be, But you can imagine the public, and particularly when you get these people on message boards, right? Some of them have got no respect. So you might get one of them up on the third floor who has a dig at a player, but it's never happened.
No, it's great to hear, mate. And then I suppose, Baz, once that's done, are you once the man of the match and those commitments are done? Is that you then?
Yeah, do you know what though? That's then my relaxed time. I can talk to whoever's up there, talk to the player as he comes off, talk to my son who's always up there. And Dan has been lifelong fan. I got him involved when he was about 8. He was watching Chelsea on the telly, which fair play. You're going to do that. Drogba, Lampard, and all that around it. Really good team. And he said, "Can we go football one way?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll take you football." And I said, "I've got you some tickets." And he went, "We're going to see Chelsea." And I said, No. He said, "Where are we going?" I went, "Don't worry about that. I'm just going to go and see a football match." And then brought him over. My dog will not shut up now. Brought him over. Now, luckily, we won. It was the 08. It was the 08-09 season, and we were down near the bottom. We're about 4th or 5th bottom, and we beat, I think it was Stockport 2-0. And we really needed to win. And then we went, I think it was a couple of weeks later, our next home game, and we played Macclesfield, and we won 2-0. And so, it helps when you go and you win, obviously your first game. He really enjoyed it because it's his first time in a football stadium. And obviously, it's different to watching it on telly. You go in there, you get the buzz of the crowd, you're 8 or 9 years old, and you think, wow, even with a stadium like Orient, well, there's probably only 4 or 5 thousand people that in there at the time. And then he asked me, and then I left it, and then he asked me to go again, and I said, "Do you want to go back over the Orient?" He said, "Yeah." And the third time we, do you want me to pause this, Christian? Do you
No,
want me
no, mate.
to
I
do?
can hardly hear. I can hardly
Right,
hear
okay,
it, mate.
sorry, mate. I don't know what he wants, but yeah, the third time we went, he said, "Do you think Sean Faulkner will be playing today?" And as soon as he started talking about tactics and players, I knew. I said, "Yeah, yeah, but I think he's a good player, isn't he?" And then at the end of the season, he said, "Can we get a season ticket next year?" And I went, "Yeah, no problem." And so softly, softly, I didn't force him to do it. Anyway, an opportunity came up about 4 or 5 seasons ago, and he goes up there and Pa knows him and Lucy knows him because he's comes with me, obviously. And they said, "Do you want to help Rachel Matthews take the mascots round, and and be a chaperone?" And he does that, and he does it every now and then now. But he had 2 or 3 seasons doing that and getting to meet the players and all the and he loves it. He's involved with the club as well, so that's proud. That's proud from my point of view that they respect him enough that they gave him that opportunity as well. I mean, he's 25 now. He's a man now.
Yeah, he done a great job at when my children have
Oh, of
been
course, you'd know
mascots.
him from yeah,
Yeah,
of course, you'd
he
know him, wouldn't you? Yeah.
he done a great job. But what would you say then, Baz? What day would you say? What's the most difficult part, and what's the should we say what's the most pleasing part? Because there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to take in. There's a lot of different components to it. What bit? Maybe not the displeasure, but what's the one that maybe gives you sleepless nights, and what's the bit you really look forward to throughout the day?
Look, I just look forward to the match day. I look forward to like the bits we've discussed. Hopefully, we're going to win, and I'll get to announce a winning goal, which is fantastic. I look forward to seeing all the people that I've mentioned to this point, Terry
Yeah,
Howards Eddie and Colette and Dudley and all the people, all the regulars. I look forward to that. Seeing all the people there. I know that's a bit of a blunt answer, but it's true. Yeah, I mean, nothing that I haven't already covered really. The worst part is what happened against Charlton the other day.
yeah,
It really it's hard. The worst part, okay, the worst part is we are me, George, and Tom are on the left hand side of the gantry, and right next to us is the opposition analysis.
right,
It's their camera filming the game for their playback after the game for analytics,
sure,
and generally they're fans of the club. Not always, but generally. Yeah, when they score a last minute goal and you've got 2 guys next to you going, yeah, jumping up and down next to you, they're they're not in your face. I've not. There's one guy. Well, I'll name. I won't name any clubs. There are 1 or 2 that get really out of order, and I have to go. I can't. I'll walk away. But
yeah,
most of them are celebrating a goal that their team has scored. That's hard to take because if you imagine as a fan sitting next to an opposition fan and they've just scored a last minute winner and they're 2 foot away from you going, yeah, that's that's not easy. That's not easy. That's the worst part of the gig by a mile, I'd say.
yeah. It's a tough one that, isn't it? Because like I think you probably feel the pain doubly because you're a fan, and also
Yeah,
that's where you work. But for those guys, I suppose like the flip side of it is they've probably worked if they're analysts or they're in that role. They've probably worked on something in the week that has contributed maybe to
could
their
be that.
team
I never
winning,
thought of it like that. Yeah,
and they're obviously that's their job, like
job
satisfaction as
satisfaction.
well.
Yeah,
Like, do you know what I mean? If they're an analyst and they're let's go back to the Charlton game. If they've spotted a weakness, say for instance, in set pieces, and they've pulled it off and sort of, pulled that off and scored goals from it. That's I suppose that's them contributing to that win. And obviously, I think
yeah,
that side of the game now has got massive, right? The whole content and social media for football clubs, but obviously for the actual team itself, like the analyst point of view and data has got absolutely massive. So, what would you say to anyone that their dream job, are always thought about doing something in this line? It might not be football. It might be ice hockey or basketball or rugby? How would you
It's a
view?
difficult one, that, Christian, because I don't know how you would apply it for such a
Yeah,
position. I imagine, and I don't know this, but I would imagine if you were working for Arsenal or Tottenham or Man United, I don't know. I should have asked Alan when I did that podcast with the other guys, but you must have some sort of background in media training, some sort of qualification, if you like, to get the job. I imagine to even get you through the door to get an interview. I imagine for a top line Premier League club at our level. I believe Phil got the job because he knew Matt Porter through Capital Radio.
right.
So there you go. It's just a connection. So it's not an easy one to answer that. Just if you do want to do something, it's always be yourself because you get found out if you're not. In any walk of life, but particularly doing something like this, you've got to be yourself. Don't put on an act. Don't put on a persona. Just be yourself. And if that's good enough, you'll be all right. And if it's not, then it's not for you.
Yeah, but I think like you touched on a good point there, Baz. I think that how good you are at it. Obviously, you had your background in music. Maybe you're not. You're. I would say where you haven't maybe had that media training, like the should we say boots and braces, but you've had the ability to sing and be in front of the camera. I think that's probably more important because you just seem a natural at it. I look at some people now and going back to, I don't think we really see it at our club. Maybe the youngsters that maybe are on loan from a Premier League club that might be a little bit more media trained and polished, but
Yeah.
I feel like football has gone too far that media training way where no one gives you a straight answer or looks comfortable. It's just like a robot. So yeah, I suppose
Yeah, 100%. You're right there. I think you can be
it's
too polished and it looks insincere,
it just doesn't look. I think the way you do it, like you obviously know what you're doing, but at the same time, you can sort of connect with it. I think again, that's what sort of brings people
Well, thanks. I mean,
into like
I hope people can tell I'm a fan. That's all I'd say. I hope people can tell that I'm doing it because for the love of doing it rather than this is my job.
yeah. But then, as I say, you wouldn't also know that you're a fan and rubbing it in, as you say, you're very professional with it. So let me ask you a few quick fire questions, Baz, in regards to that, and then I'll just want to ask you about some music at the end.
Yeah.
What's been the most favourite game that you've been involved in with a mic?
Well, it's Man City, obviously,
Yeah,
or in Man City, without a doubt. I didn't have to think about that. Yeah.
yeah,
There's been some great ones, but all in Man City. Yeah.
yeah. What's been the favourite you've interviewed after games?
My favourite player, did you say? You cut out there, mate. What was it?
What would be your favourite player that you've interviewed after games
Um,
over the years?
that's a tough one. I mean, I'll tell you what. I'll give you Charlie Lee.
Right, good
What a
player,
great
man.
guy. What a
Yeah,
laugh. Brilliant.
yeah. I still speak to him every now and then, actually, Charlie, because he went to immigrated to Australia, didn't he? And he wanted to
Yes.
get
Yeah.
involved with football and coaching. Uh, so I gave him some contacts. He actually got a job off the back
Oh,
of it
terrific.
in Queensland coaching. So I think he's involved now with an NPL team in Queensland. I should actually get him on the podcast. But yeah, great guy, right?
But you know what I
Really.
mean by that. He was such a
Yeah,
laugh, wasn't he? He's such a
yeah,
lovely guy. There's been, as I said before, there's been, getting Joby up there and Coxie and all these people that were just so good.
yeah,
But Charlie Lee was just like, come on, Charlie, let's have a laugh, brilliant.
yeah. And the flip side of that, Baz, I'm not going to ask you the worst player, but what was the worst game that you've ever had to
I
be
think,
involved with
it's
a
got to be
mic?
during the Italian era
Yeah.
rather. I don't recall a specific game, but that whole era where we were losing
Oh,
consistently at home, and we're
yeah,
having the likes of Andrea Desena and um, and
yeah,
and all them people just, you know, people. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I haven't answered your question, but that whole era, because I was still doing the interviews, even though I wasn't doing it because Phil never done anything like that, and that was just left a bad taste in your mouth that they were there for the wrong reasons. A couple of them players, and
They were.
I'll give you one crazy Italian story. I know you didn't ask me, but the Mr. B. Once I was
Yeah,
interviewing
let's not
Scott
name him.
Cashkett. Scott Cashkett is man of the match, and
Yeah.
Mr. B. You'd see one week and then you wouldn't see him for God knows how long. He'd come out of nowhere with a bottle of champagne while I was doing man of the match and done us like Formula One, the pair of us. Shook it up. I went, hey, psh, over the
What
pond. We're like, whoa.
actually sprayed you with it.
Sorry? Yeah, just done me like Formula One. Bang. The pair of us, me and Scott. And he just walked off. Hey. I'm like, what the?
Like from a professional point of view, Baz, how hard was it?
Not the chinning.
Yeah, well, yeah, not that, but how hard was it in that era? Obviously, as Orient fans, we know what
Yeah,
went on, right?
yeah,
And probably we're not privy to all of it that went on, but being involved with me and you with the Orient Hour and other stuff,
yeah.
we probably know more than most. And obviously, there's some bad things going on. How bad was it for you being involved at the football club and working at the football club
Really
when
difficult because
those shenanigans were going on?
it was difficult because all the people that you love that I mentioned are still there,
Yeah,
the fans, but the people that owned the club, the business of the club, not the club. We
yeah,
own the club. The fans own the club. You know that. You know what I mean, didn't you? The people that
yeah,
owned the business of the club were wrong. Were the wrong people, and they were turning it into a sour experience. And
mm,
luckily, our fans stuck together, but it could have gone very wrong. And it was just, it felt like they'd taken something beautiful and give it a right kicking.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it wasn't easy. You're trying to smile 4-1 home defeat. You're like, well, we were unlucky today. You try to put a positive spin on it on the first floor because, I'm not like Jeremy Paxman and rip them apart. But
yeah.
yeah, it was difficult, mate.
Do you think, because I discuss this a lot about on this podcast, Baz, and about like football clubs, that have tasted, should we say, bad times, like as the voice of the club and someone that's responsible for the vibe on the match day, like I think me personally that was a bit like rebirth of the football club. I feel like, and I notice it with a lot of clubs right now that I think if you can go through a little bit of pain,
Yeah,
and at times, don't get me wrong, there was divisions within the fan group. There was divisions between supporters groups. There was divisions even with the blokes that you sat around. Some wanted him gone. Some wanted people doing nothing. Some
yeah,
wanted us to boycott. Some wanted us to start Phoenix teams. There was a lot of division, right?
yeah,
But do you notice it now that you feel like, or in over the last 6 or 7 years since the new owners is just like a new place, right? There's more new fans, there's more younger fans, like it's busier. We've been upturned. Obviously, we've had some down times as well and some sad times with Justin. But as the voice of someone that sees all the characters and all the players, do you feel like since that date though, like you felt it yourself that the club have come together?
yeah. It's a massive rebirth for the club, a club that nearly didn't exist. We were grateful for being saved, but I don't think any of us could have imagined that the ambition of getting back to League One in 6 years would be achieved. We just
No,
wanted to get out of the National League.
no.
The story, forget Wrexham. Yeah, forget that. I'm not having a dig at them. But our story, from one kick away to the Championship to the end of the 22-23 season, it is a much deeper story. It really
Yeah.
is. It really is the roller coaster. And I was there for all of that. And we couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And now, we're back where we belong. We
Yeah.
discussed on the Orient Hour last night bit of the debate about that, whether we want to go to the Championship or not. I think we do. Whether we're
Yeah,
ready or
great
not
episode.
is another question.
Yeah.
But to be a sustainable Championship club, which, well, those two words normally don't go together, do they? But
No, correct.
to reach the heights that we haven't reached for 40 years would be an incredible achievement. And the likes of the owners and Mark Devlin are looking to not reinvent the club, but looking to take the club forward by, getting another stadium.
Yeah,
Which again, I mean, how much money does that involve? The new investors
yeah,
and new stadiums, and you have to get it right, because you get it wrong, and all that money and sort of hard work and kind of momentum that you've achieved can go very wrong very quickly. So you have to be ambitious with it, but you have to be within your boundaries. Look what MK Dons, that disastrous,
yeah,
when they ruined the heart and soul of Wimbledon. Now they're back, fine, but good for them. Even though I don't particularly like the way they play sometimes, but yeah, they've got that soulless. It's a lovely stadium, isn't it? But they've
yeah.
got
It is.
3 or 4 thousand people knocking about in that 25,000 seater stadium.
And I
So,
think that's a great point, mate, that you've just made there. I think there's a real fine line between ambition, but
hmm,
also like not. You get that wrong, you go to the champ. Like, the champ is just the biggest money pit in the world, right? Everyone's chasing the dream to the promised
Gamblers
land, and
League.
so
Yeah,
so everyone's massively in debt. You get that too wrong, and you're bankrupt, and the club's
yeah,
gone. Like
yeah.
it's a real fine line. And even the point that you said about like Wrexham, right? For me personally, I'm a football fan. I'm a football geek. So that's why I started this podcast, right? I actually like what Wrexham have done. My hate with Wrexham isn't with the owners and
It's the
the
media.
supporters.
Yeah,
It's the media, right?
it's the media. Yeah, that's what I meant
If
by
you
that. I meant
if
forget,
yeah,
the loving.
if you take away their loving, like when you look at what they've done, obviously they've done it on a bigger scale, but then they've got bigger resources than our owners, right? I think I can't knock our owners one bit. Like I'm firmly in I'm happy where we are camp. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you look at them, like they've sorted the stadium out, they've put money into the local community, they've done up the stadium, they've invested in the local community
They
and the
certainly have.
foot
Yeah,
and the football ground, and that's what I'm all about. And I think I definitely feel that it's a different Leighton Orient to when I was a kid, and
yeah. It is
even before
totally.
and even before the Italian nonsense. I feel like it really brought us together. So, Baz, last couple of questions, right?
Yep.
Listen to this podcast that's not a Leighton Orient fan. Talk to me about Leighton Orient's walkout music, because in our house
Yep.
it's iconic, right? It comes on, my wife laughs, both my children start dancing. Like I used to have it as my ringtone. Like Tijuana Taxi for me is just like it's just a one off. I love it,
Well,
right?
let me.
But
Yeah,
but
go
I
on.
know
Sorry.
other clubs look at it and think, what is this?
Well, that's why it's great. Let me put it in a context of my life outside of football. Yeah. Now I'm 5'6". Yeah, I used to be 5'7", but I've shrunk, which is disappointing. Right. And I did a white collar boxing fight about 9 or so years ago. I was about 45, whatever I was. And you get ring walk music, same as when you
Yeah,
get like football music come out. Right now, you can either, now I took this directly from the Orient way of thinking. You can either come out to I'm going to knock you out and give it all the big one, right? A little bit silly, right? Yeah, I know. You can come. Do you know what I'm saying? You can come out with the
yeah,
power and the I'm
yeah.
going to knock you and all that, right? Or you can come out to what I did, which was I wish I was a little bit taller by Skilo, tongue in cheek, right? Now everyone like loved
True
it.
that.
Oh, I thought it was great. Now as it happens, I got a draw. It's great. It's a great event, right? Um, and I think Orient done the same with Tijuana Taxi. It was something that was put on a bit tongue in cheek, come out to the jaunty music. It's like it's a
Yeah,
knockout music, wasn't it? That's
yeah,
similar, beanbag, isn't it? And people loved it. And yeah, it's tongue in cheek, but it's ironic, but it's cool because it's ironic. I think if you can run out to that, then it gives a bit of kudos that like these guys don't have to, try and be big or cool or clever or whatever. They're just coming out to like, yeah, joyous music. Brilliant. Love it.
yeah.
And it
Absolutely,
was
I
played, what,
absolutely,
40 odd years ago, and it's still with us.
absolutely love it. But I like when I play it to other people at times, they're like, what is this nonsense? And just to explain to people, then like after a victory, we play a different tune. Do you want to how that come about? Do you know how that come about?
Yeah, I think that was Barry Earn, I think, wasn't it?
Right.
And I think Millwall nicked it now, the cheeky gits. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I heard so.
Someone
Yeah,
told me Millwall play that now after.
yeah, it's not certainly not as long as us, but yeah, that's a great bit of power pop, isn't it? I think everyone loves a bit of quo, don't they, at the
Yeah.
end of the game. And again,
Yeah.
rather than go all kind of like super cool with it, I think again it's a good old standard cheesy rock song, isn't it? And again, I think it says a lot about the club. I really do.
What about Baz, being a musician actually and talking about music? What's your viewpoint on like a goal scoring music? What do you think
No,
about? Because I'm
no,
dead against that. But there's plenty of
yeah,
clubs that
no,
do it right. I don't like that at all.
too American.
Yeah, exactly that, mate. It's like like saying at NFL. Yeah, totally
It's too
agree, mate.
American. It's just that's the two words I just would say about it. That's it.
And then lastly, Baz, how long do you want to do this? As long as you can. Like
I
what?
want to do it as long as I can still do it to to a decent standard.
Yeah,
And I always do. I'd love to do it until I've dropped dead. I really would. And that may
yeah.
be on the stairs, by the
I
way.
was just about to say is
Yeah,
that stairs dependent? Yeah.
yeah, it stairs dependent. But you know, I mean, I'd keep fit. I'd go to the gym and do boxing stuff. So, and I'll probably so I can still get up the stairs at Orient. But yeah, I'd love to do it as long as I feel that I'm relevant, as long as I feel that I'm still doing the job. If I started to get words wrong and do things wrong and you know
Yeah.
embarrass the club, I would hang me out. I'd say, well, okay, maybe it's time that give it to someone else. But you know, there's a guy at Liverpool, Sefton's been doing it 50 years. And the guy Alan
Wow.
Keegan, I was on with the other day, has been doing it for 25 at Man United. And I think I think the biggest fear regards the progress of Leighton Orient, and Simon says this, photographer we saw about, right? He says that if you do get the success and money comes in, money like Premier League money, they
Yeah.
might want to go another way because hey, we'll get this professional DJ in, or we'll and so we get a professional photographer, like he's a professional photographer. I'm not saying that, but like a media type. And I
Yeah.
think that'd be a shame if you lose. And I'm not saying that from my own selfish point of view. Well, I am, but like we were saying about the heart and soul of the club with
Yeah.
the Dave Victors, let's be fair to Dave. I love him and he's great and he's the voice of Leighton Orient. But could you technically get a better, yeah, of course you could. You could get technically a better announcer than me. But it ain't about technically, is it? It's
No. Yeah.
whether the fans connect and whether it becomes part of the sort of feel of the club. So I
Yeah.
hope that don't happen. So as long as that doesn't happen, and I can still get up the stairs, I'm afraid you're stuck with me.
Yeah. Part of the fabric, mate. And you and Dave, I'd be devastated if ever that happened. But
Well,
I
you put that in
suppose
writing, mate.
in time, I suppose, is there? Would you look to pass this on to your son? Do you think
No, do you know
your
what?
son?
I love all my three sons to bits. My other two, I've got twins that they just don't come to football, not interested in it, and
Right.
that's fine. They've got their own stuff, and that's brilliant. But Dan's a totally different character to me. He's much more scientific, analytical. He's not a musician, and
Right.
he wouldn't want to do it. He said, "Oh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do it." So not only would that be a nepotism, which, but to be fair, there's a lot of people at Orient who, are in the same family because they got
Yeah.
opportunities. But not only that, no, I think whoever was best for the job, mate, because I'm an Orient fan.
And then lastly, Baz, one of my favourite, I'd say, memories of you is when we won the League Two title and you appeared in the dressing room. Can you just to finish off?
Yeah,
Can you finish on
um,
that story? Because I think
I can.
that's probably got to be one of your best stories ever, right?
I think I'm going to say you were there against Gillingham, right? You must have been,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So starts at Gillingham, the lights go out, we get promoted in the dark. Typical effing Leighton Orient, as John Sitton would say, right?
it
But
could
it
only
is in a
happen
good
to us. I remember
in a
getting in
good
that
way.
night thinking ridiculous, like no one else that would have happened to anyone else.
Crazy, right? So we go up, they jog about, they congratulate each other. Anyway, we know that, right? So I kept seeing the media putting out on Twitter, wagon wheel, wagon wheel, wagon wheel. And I'm
Yeah,
thinking, and I haven't clicked on it. I can see them all jumping down, but I haven't clicked on it for the audio because I'm rather disrespectfully, if you like, thinking, well, they're all young men. There's going to be some sort of drum and bass or drill or something. Whatever, right? They're all going to be jumping up there. And people kept going on about it, saying, oh, I can't. And I thought, what what is it then? And I clicked on it. This is on the Wednesday. This is the next day.
Yeah.
And I thought, how is country and western? How weird is that? All these young men jumping up and down to a country song, it wasn't a western country song. And I thought, well, that's easy enough. So I got the guitar out. I thought, well, it's C sharp, F, sus, whatever. Got it set up, thought, right, okay, what's the lyrics? Got the first verse, got the chorus, easy enough. I phoned it was Luke Lambourne. I phoned Luke Lambourne on the Thursday. I said, Luke, Wagon Wheel, fantastic, isn't it? It's a country. He said, yeah. I said, well, if we win Saturday, we're champions, right? He said, yeah. I said, well, what about, I'll bring my guitar down. Very David Brent, I know. I said, if we win, I said, we'll go down to just have a sing song. It's easy. And he went, there's a bit of a pause, and he went, what would that be like? In other words, are you shit?
How good are you?
Yeah. And I went, well, Luke, if it's no good, you don't have to put it out. I'm not suggesting you live stream it. Just we'll go and see. It might be a thing. And of course we won. It was great. It was Crows 3-0, wasn't it? And then I just, after the hoo-ha and all the celebrations on the pitch, I just got the great guitar, went in the dressing room. I think my biggest, not fear, but my biggest thing was, what, they just going to look at me like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But as you saw the video, I just said, I think actually what you don't see on the video, funny enough, is me. The first thing I say, because you see me straight into the song, didn't you? First thing I go, guys, and they'll turn around and I go, Darius Rucker couldn't make it, I'm afraid. So substitution, and I say substitution for a joke. And I sub myself on, and then I start playing it, and they all went potty, as you've seen in the video.
Great.
And I'm not exaggerating, mate. I know it's the old thing, my kids, obviously, wedding day, stuff like that, but it was one of the best days of my life. It was just, it couldn't have been any better. I got done with a beer, with a champagne, and I ended it well by shouting, "We are going up," because I thought, how am I going to end this?
Yeah.
And
amazing,
all the ceiling tiles went, and the beer, and it was great, mate. I loved it, mate. And I'm glad that it got so much heat. Even Darius Rucker replied to it, didn't he? So
it was a very, like, it's one of them tracks now. If you ever hear it, or like it comes on my playlist or something, you instantly think of not only obviously that moment, but just that season, right? I think it was
joy,
was it George Moncur brought that song into the
George Moncur was as a Christian, and it was, I think it's something to do with his Christian upbringing. He said, "This is my song," and I love it. And and fair play to them for all getting on board. And what a moment! And again, talking about the soul of our club, the character of our club, that's just us as well, isn't it? We come out to Tijuana Taxi and we're playing a country song in the dressing room, and that's great. I wouldn't want us to try and be super hard,
No, and I just think that's why, to be fair, I think people that come into the club or find the club love it, because it isn't trying to be something that it's not. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that sort of, like, that song and that year really summed everything up. But Baz, I want to thank you for your time, mate. I've loved listening to your stories. I've loved the fact that you're a fan, probably doing the job that you dream of, and just keep doing it, mate. I think everyone at Orient appreciates what you do on a match day, and are happy, and what a great vibe you bring to the place. So I really appreciate you giving up your time.
No, I really, really appreciate it, Christian, and you keep doing what you're doing, because I know you work really hard on the non-league stuff and that, and you do really well. If ever I've got anyone I think's a decent player, I'll come straight to you, don't I? But I really appreciate it. Apart from playing for Leyton Orient, which I never quite got at that level, I got to Essex Senior on that, but never, it's the next best thing, isn't it?
Next best. Cheers, Baz. I really appreciate it. Have a great
Christian.
rest of the week.
You've had a good word, mate.
I'll see you at Stevenage. Take care,
mate.
Yes,
you will. Yes, you will. See you, mate.